right. Can you tell us your name?
My name is Maria Cristina Roca Esquija,
How old are you?
96 as of February and July
95, Mom. You're only 95.
95.
You just turned 95.
Yeah,
Okay. How many children do you have?
9 children.
Can you tell us the story about your experience during the war?
Well, first of all, I would like to tell you that uh, we were under the Japanese rule for more than over 4 years. And the Japanese, I guess you know the story of Pearl Harbor. And after Pearl Harbor, the Japanese invaded the Philippines and they came to Manila where we were living in Manila. And I still remember those big tanks with the Japanese coming in. And but actually they didn't bother us. We only were not allowed to get out of the house at night, and the schools and were
Did you have school then?
no, they closed the schools. Thank God they did not close the churches. Only a few schools were open. So that's why I was not able to go to college, because I just finished high school and all the schools were closed. What we could only study was music or things like that.
Did you just stay at home then at night?
Oh yes, yes, we stayed. We could not get out at night. It was dangerous. And when we go to church, we were allowed to go to church, but then uh, because we didn't have any car anymore, so we walked to church. And once in a while, there would be what you call um, soldiers in, what do they call that? You have to bow to them.
Oh, Japanese soldiers.
Japanese soldiers, you have to bow to them before you pass them. But that didn't bother us too much.
So tell us the day when your mother was killed.
Well, now that lasted like 4 years. And then, as history says, when they bombed Hiroshima, then the Japanese had to leave the Philippines. And while they were leaving Manila, I don't know why they were, they became crazy. They started killing people. And where we were, we thought we were safe. But then they started burning the houses around. And one of the houses, while we will run away from our houses and went to this, the only big house around. And it was a huge house with a huge yard. And the Japanese were staying there, but they had already left. And they had an air raid shelter. Air raid shelter was built by the Japanese. So when the Japanese left, we thought the Japanese left. They did leave. So we went a lot of families went to this house, and we put the old women, old women like my mother, and the watch was not really old, but the
With the
elderly people
children.
were put in that airy shelter with the small children. It was quite a big area shelter, and we were outside just, you know, the teenagers. At that time, I was 22 years old. We were outside chatting and not thinking of anything. Then we 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 heard the shots, and we saw the Japanese come in the compound. They were starting to shoot people.
Were
And
you far from your mom?
well, not too far. We were outside. As I said, they were inside the area shelter, and we were all outside. And they started shooting. So when you hear shots,
Shots.
you just
Get down.
get down. Now my father was in another part of the yard. He was preparing for us to stay there, so he was cleaning, like it was they call it chicken coop, and they were cleaning the ground so that we were going. That's where we were going to sleep that night. But then when the Japanese came in, they started shooting, and of course everybody ran away. Some of my family they they ran away, and I was there with with three of my brothers, and the three of the three of my brothers who were around me were shot by the Japanese. And of course, when I heard the shot, I was on the ground, and one of my brothers fell. When he was shot, he fell on top of me. I remember even feeling his pulse until he died. And the Japanese thought, and I could hear the steps of the Japanese. And I think they thought that I was already dead. So they just didn't bother me.
Okay, tell us when you found your mom and your.
So the first thing in my mind was to look for my mother. So we went to that, looked at the area shelter, and everybody there was dead, including my mother. Apparently, they were not shot. They threw a hand grenade. Later, I found that they threw a hand grenade there, so everybody there. I think my little brother was there too. One of my brothers were there. So three of my brothers and my mother were killed. Now, I did not know which of the family were alive. So I saw my father, and we went to this place, the chicken coop, as I said, where he cleaned, and that's where some of us that were alive, we went there. We just laid on the ground, not knowing what happened to the others. We did not know who was alive, who was dead. And for 3 nights, 3 days and 3 nights, we were there. And it was terrible because during the night you could hear the moaning of people around, help us, help us. But of course, we could not move where we were. We could not move. We were afraid if there were still Japanese around. And some of the ones that were alive, they all went there. We were not very many, but it's a big chicken coop, so that we were lying on the ground. And of course, we were just, not knowing what to do. We were just praying, and
How long did you stay there?
we were there for, I think, 3 days. 3 days. and 3 nights. And all we did was we just praying and praying and just waiting. And we could hear the moaning of the people that were dying until they became silent also, because they died, you know. That's the moaning. So after 3 days, we heard, oh, I can never forget that voice. We heard the voice. It said, "Anybody here? Anybody here?" And it was obviously an American. So we all got up, started screaming, "The Americans are here! The Americans are here!" But the Americans said, "Get out of here, out, out." So they told us to run away from the, because there were all dead bodies around. It was not safe to be there. So we just ran out of that place. And while we were running, we saw the rest of the family. We saw, because all these refugees were joining us, we had to run away from that place because there were so many dead bodies around.
Where did you go?
So we saw the rest of the family, my brothers, my 2 brothers and my sisters. And so we just had to follow where the Americans wanted us to go. So we were just running and running until we arrived in a place where it was safe. And it so happened that one of my brothers was not with us. He was working in that other part of Manila. And so he met us and he brought us to my grandmother's house, who was on the other part of the city. That's where the family took refuge with my grandmother, which was on the other part of Manila.
Did you see Dad then? After that?
Well, I was not married yet, but we were already, your dad and I were already dating. And we saw him also running away from that part where the Japanese were. So, but I was in my grandmother's, so we did not see each other for a while. When everything, the war is over, everything was over, and everything went back to normal, there were ships, big ships that came to Manila. And our organization, it's a Catholic organization. We used to not entertain, but make them feel welcome, not show any animosity. And so we used to invite some Japanese over to the house just for a meal. That's it. We were not.
So how did you feel that you had the Japanese?
Well, that's just it. That's just it. It was very, very hard. It was very hard because you don't even know if the family of these Japanese were the ones who killed your mother, you could not. But we had no choice, and then we just have to live your Christian way, that you have to be charitable and nice. That is the story about that the Japanese coming back. But that was after a long time, after the peace, after everything was normal again in the Philippines. That's when